Welcome to the Akashic Library.
Have you ever felt like you're kind of stuck in a loop, where the same things just keep happening with your money, in your relationships, maybe even at work, and you just can't seem to break the pattern? Well, what if I told you that's not fate? What if it's actually a program? A program running deep inside your own mind. We're going to dive into this, and it's pretty mind-blowing. So this really is the core of it all, this one big idea. You are not destined. You are programmed. Just let that sink in for a second. It completely flips the whole idea of destiny on its head. It means the life you're living right now, it wasn't written in the stars. It's the output of a program running in your subconscious. Okay, so what's the actual difference here? Let's break it down. On one side, you've got fate. That's the idea that your story is already written. It's uncontrollable. You're basically just along for the ride. But on the other side, you've got programming. This view says your life is just a reflection of your beliefs. And here's the absolute game changer. You can change your beliefs. The script isn't something that's forced on you, it's written by you. And that means, guess what? You can pick up the pen and write a new ending. All right, that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If we're all running on a program, where the heck did that program come from? Who wrote the original code? Well, to find the answer, we have to go way, way back to the very beginning. So this number you're seeing, 0 to 7, that is everything. From the day you're born until you're about 7 years old, your brain is in a totally different state. It's basically like a state of hypnosis. You're just soaking everything up, wide open to suggestion. Think of it like a brand new computer in setup mode. This is when all that foundational software, all that core code for your belief system gets installed. Yeah, the best way to think about it is like a sponge. When you're a little kid, you don't really have those critical filters that we develop as adults, the ones that question things. Instead, your brain just absorbs. It soaks up everything in your environment, every word, every emotion, every action you see from the people around you. And it doesn't question it. It just accepts it all as the truth. And here are some perfect examples of how this actually plays out. Let's say, as a kid, you were always hearing your parents fighting about money. Or maybe you heard phrases like, rich people are greedy, over and over. Your little kid brain doesn't analyze that. It just hits record. It becomes a fundamental belief. And these kinds of experiences, observing relationships, hearing how people talk about money, or what they imply about your own self-worth, they become the building blocks of your subconscious programming. Okay, so fast forward to today. We've got all this programming from childhood just running in the background of our minds. The big question is, so what? How does that actually show up in our adult lives? Well, this is where it gets really powerful. The life you are living right now is basically the printout of that original code. And there's actually a name for this master program, this internal operating system. It's called your state of consciousness. It's really just the sum total of all your subconscious beliefs. Everything you believe deep down about money, love, health, relationships, who you are, all of it. And this is probably the most important part to get. Your life, your external reality, it works just like a mirror. It's not creating your life. It's simply reflecting what's already inside you. It's reflecting your state of consciousness. So if your deep down program says, I'm not good enough for a great relationship, the mirror of life will tend to show you situations that confirm that. If your code says money is always a struggle, that's what the mirror will reflect back. And this isn't some new age concept. The legendary psychologist Carl Jung said it perfectly. As long as this stuff, this programming, stays in our unconscious, it's going to run the show. It's going to guide our lives. And because we can't see it, we'll just look at the results, at these repeating patterns, and we'll just shrug and say, well, I guess that's just my fate. But, and this is the most important but, you are not stuck with that program forever. This is where the power comes back to you. If your life is just the result of code, then the solution is pretty straightforward, right? You can rewrite the code. So, how do we actually do that? Let's go back to that computer analogy. If your laptop is running a program you don't like, you don't get mad at the computer, right? You don't yell at the screen hoping it'll change. No, you go into the software and you change the code. Your mind works in exactly the same way. So how do we get in there and start editing? Well, it breaks down into this really practical 4-step process. First, you observe. Then you question. Then you reframe. And finally, you choose. It's all about first seeing the program and then making a conscious choice to write a new one. Okay, so that first step, observe. This is where you become a detective in your own life. You got to get curious. Start asking yourself these big questions. What patterns keep showing up for me? What do I really, deep down, believe about money, about love, about my own worth? And the key here is no judgment. Just watch, just notice. This is how you start to drag that unconscious programming out into the light. And here's the beautiful promise in all of this. Once you find one of those old limiting beliefs and you make a conscious choice to install a new one, to literally rewrite that line of code, the mirror of your reality has to change. It has no other choice. It will start to reflect the new program. You change the inside first, and the outside has to follow. So look, it's one thing to understand this stuff, right? But the real magic happens when you actually apply it. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question. The real work starts now. Just take a second and really think. Looking at your own life, what's the very first belief, the first line of code you're going to choose to rewrite?
Action dissolves doubt faster than any amount of thinking ever could. Next, discover the power of solitude in How to Be Alone.